try.
A little bit.
Let me try one thing.
Well, we're going anyway. So, Earnestly podcast, doing the game report. Darkness. Darkness is.
Darkness. No, we're not going. We're going to go with Skyrockets in Flight.
Kyle and Nash, week number 5 in the books. Kyle, what's up, buddy?
Yeah, listen, this overhead light in the back of the security van is not working for me, but we'll have to fix it next week.
Now I know how I feel.
No, I don't. You always get to sit in the front of the van. That's why you always get the goddamn window.
That's right. You want the window seat? Well, we got a lot to talk about on this SOTG report this week. Of course, follow him on Twitter or X at the SOTG. We do this every week, every Tuesday.
What the hell is X?
It's Elon's new project. Or
whatever.
Project.
If I send you a direct message, am I sending you a DMX? But anyways.
Oh, I like that. That's awesome.
You're welcome.
You should copyright that somehow. I don't know if it's possible to do that though, but I don't know. Anyway, I know the Niners won on Sunday.
Won? The term is dominated. Your
by the way,
Super Bowl contending allegedly. Cowboys. Nice job, Homer.
God. And I know the Niners won the game, but I find it more interesting. I find the Cowboys more interesting coming out of this game just because of the Cowboys. Whatever.
I mean, they do say Superman is a boring comic book character, but go ahead.
I think the coming out of this game though, it's not that they lost the game. I mean, I think everybody picked the Cowboys to lose.
Oh, so apparently you didn't see this past week's episode of the Student of the Game podcast, bing, where I hosted Jim Neese, and on that show he picked his and your Cowboys.
Well, I said us. I didn't say him. He's a homer.
Homer.
We don't. But to his credit, he's a lot more gutsier on his picks this year than he has been in years past.
Whoa.
Less fence sitting on his end.
God, listen, when Big Jim of the Huddle Up podcast hears about this, bing, he's gonna be all up on your ish in the texts. Anyway.
Facts over feelings, buddy. Who cares? But
and then you Ben Shapiro woke Jim. You're in real trouble, EJ Christian.
Yeah, I know. Tune in tonight, 8:00 on 8:30 rather, on YouTube, on Facebook, on Twitter /X, what do you call it? Tonight on the Huddle Up. But the conversation here is the Cowboys. It's not that they lost the game. It's the way they lost. And the thing is it's like San Francisco just like methodically just beat the shit out of them. It wasn't one of those things where like Dallas like played horribly, those stuff. It's just that San Fran just dominated them. Like you just knew from the word go, yeah, we're just a better team than you are.
Top to bottom. Yeah.
It's just that simple for me.
I didn't expect, what was it, 42-10? I did not expect
42-10 and left points on the field.
Right. I did not expect this to be that dominant. I really had more, what's his word, gravitas in my mind when it came to the Cowboys defense. But I think the most interesting point are a couple coaching things that could have been a little bit different. Mm-hmm. I heard Shannon Sharp talking about it. I would not have put Micah Parsons on Trent Williams either. Yep. I put Micah Parsons on the other side, and let's see something to get in Brock Purdy's face. The dude does not turn the ball over and still hasn't against this defense that was alleged to be among the NFL's top 2 in the 8-2, as one person put it to me. Shouts to Ashley Baker of the Sports After Dark podcast / Twitter space.
Yeah, I think the thing that concerns me is that, obviously I'm looking at Big Jim's Twitter feed during the game, which by the way he promised us, which by the way he promised us that his wife would take his phone. So you saw what I did on the first touchdown when he the first time he tweeted on there, he was like, "Oh, this game's over already." And I go, "Good to see that your wife didn't take the phone yet."
Oh yeah, I did see you saying that. The thing I saw in that first touchdown was the refs. Anyways,
yeah, I'm a little concerned now for the Cowboys, not because of this loss.
Don't be such a fanboy. Relax.
But I went through the schedule. After the game, and
here comes the
schedule. On one hand,
talk. It's so
on one hand, I was saying, well, okay, look, are they as good as the Niners and the Eagles? Probably not, but it's still a good team. We're not gonna go as far as
at no point, EJ Christian, have you that I can remember. Well, maybe you did it once when you put the Cowboys over the Eagles or something, but at no point was the question asked of us or anybody consensusly in the media outside of Dallas putting the Cowboys ahead of the Eagles or the 49ers that I can immediately remember.
Right.
You might have done it a couple times in Tool time, but thus you are a Tool
Right.
thing.
Yeah, shut up. Wait a minute. Nice hair today, buddy, for the record.
Thank you.
No, but on one thing, I want to bring the panic down for a second. It's like, okay, why are we panicking? Okay, you lose the Niners, cool. It's still one loss. Even if you lost by 3, it's still a loss. Okay, right, slice it. Then I looked at the schedule. I'm like, ooh, wait a second. This might be a little tougher than I thought coming into the year. Now, for the record, I had the Cowboys before the year going to the Super Bowl,
which was ridiculous. And I tried to tell you, but you wouldn't listen.
Granted, we still got a whole season to play, so they can still change the narrative. Of course, it's still be played.
I have no problem swinging morning stars at you on this. I am that.
You love that. So I give you their next 3 games: at Chargers, Rams, and at Eagles. That's the next 3. Coming off this loss here.
Yeah, that's
tough. That Chargers game is going to be tough. Look, I'm not saying that I might still pick Dallas this next week to win on Monday Football. I'm not saying that I might still pick Dallas win against the Rams. Eagles game, we'll see how the Eagles look like in a couple weeks. They're still 5-0. But this schedule ain't that easy. I mean, then you have obviously have the Giants and the Panthers next 2 weeks after that. But that's nothing. Commanders, those games are always kind of frisky because of the divisional optics and whatever. Then you got Seattle and Philadelphia, Buffalo, Miami, Detroit. Whew. Kyle, because I know Big Jim said I can't see more than 5 more wins in the schedule. I'm like, you're being crazy. I mean, optics wise, I can see his point here.
Well, here's the reason why I can't argue with you, EJ Christian. If you'll remember on the Student of the Game podcast, bing, even though I hate to keep calling Lady Ash out like this. She had 13 wins, and I had to really explain why I could come up with only 8 on the schedule.
You had 8 and 9, right? Yeah.
I had 8 and 9.
You had a massive regression. You had a massive regression this year.
Yeah, I did. And it's not so much because, listen, I knew the defense was going to be awesissimo, but having a great defense, you got to score the football sometimes. And at the end of the day, there's a lot of teams they're playing that can score the football. All right. Now, the Chargers may still blow it because your boy Staley has just been horrendous. That team under him has been horrendous on defense. Kellen Moore with Justin Herbert, I think is amazing. And should Staley get fired, it'll be unfortunate because I think Kellen Moore is a great coaching option. Maybe the spot
he might be the option because they ain't gonna pay money for a top head coach.
Well, here's my whole thing. Maybe the Spanoses will be dumb enough to promote Kellen. Let's not speculate too much.
Not dumb enough, cheap enough.
But let's stay here. Let's stay with the Cowboys. I'm predicting enough disaster. I don't want our guy Booga Peters hearing this and having a coronary. Okay,
you'll be okay.
Booga Peters, my favorite San Diego Charger fan and San Diego Charger personality on this Pro Sports Fan app. More on that later at some point. Anyways, listen, at the very least, just so I have the opportunity to say something that you say all the time about teams, these next 3 games rate anywhere from at the highest to difficult to at the lowest frisky. So, yeah, your Rams are frisky, EJ Christian. So, I really think the Rams are dangerous. I think they could kind of qualify for a trap game because in that locker room they're going to be looking to head to Philadelphia, thinking they can get past the Rams as they are hosting them, and let's just say that would be an entirely problematic mistake. I'm also hoping that Micah Parsons isn't too banged up from the 49er experience to be a significant impact against the Chargers. The Chargers' offense is amazing and balanced.
His mouth certainly isn't banged up. He's talking a lot of shit even after the game.
No, see, that's the thing. Okay, let's pump the brakes on that.
You want the quotes?
Well,
he has 2
kids. For context, add the quotes for the audience.
Yeah, I'm gonna get it right now. But keep talking. I'm gonna get it right now
because to help set up like kind of where it is. I've seen a lot of stuff out there on the socials where people are just completely lambasting the Cowboys for not rolling over in the press conference. They're not just supposed to say, well, gosh, go ahead, EJ Christian. Looks like
here's the first quote he had after the game, literally hours of the game. Quote, I don't think they're really at a high level than us. I think we're the same caliber playoff team, if not the same talent standard as them. I just feel like we need to reconsider some things, get together and fix some things. I feel like it was a few plays away. The score doesn't really shape up what happened out there.
Okay, so what's he supposed to say is my question. Hey, how'd you feel about the game? Wow, man, listen, if we sucked any harder, we could all be cast for porn stars. And we really need to go to Mr. Jones and request that he burn down Jerry World and we not take another stab for the rest of the year. This MFR is over, as declared by Earnest Christian, much to the joy of Matt Muehlheisen. Shouts to the Huddle Up Podcast, Bing. And, Micah Parsons would even throw the Bing in there in this post game. That's a bunch of coach speak, guys. Like, don't you know coach speak when you hear it? That's it. He can't just quit on his team. He's a captain. He's a star. Heck, one could argue that more so than Dak. He's the franchise player in there. He can't show a lack of confidence in that situation. He's got to say shit like that. That's the job.
His second quote, because George Kittle actually wore a "Fuck Dallas" T-shirt under his uniform.
That was I don't know how. I'll put it this way: fan Kyle enjoys it. Media Kyle is like, I don't know, man.
But when you score a hat trick against the Cowboys in that same game, you can do the hell you want. Anyway, so okay.
Again, fan Kyle enjoyed it.
Yeah. Micah also had a response to that too, saying this. We got something for that. Just trust. If we see them again, just trust, and we're gonna put it just like that. I ain't gonna put too much on it. You're gonna make it personal. We can make it personal. That's cool. Again, Micah, no offense, you are one of the best players in football. They beat me 3 times in a row. At some point, you're gonna have to just bring it.
So there's that. I don't like that angle. Where I'll agree with you here is the best move when it comes to that is silence. Because if you respond, then they know they have you.
Yeah. Well, and to your point, they do.
Well,
these responses are just ridiculous.
I am on record talking about history has been severely unkind to the Cowboys and the Packers of late in the playoffs versus the 49ers. I mean, listen, the Packers had done so bad against the 49ers that Aaron Rodgers tanked it so he couldn't make the playoffs, so he wouldn't have to get beat by the 49ers again. That's a joke, not real. Chill out. But shouts to my guy, to Darrell Owens, for actually making that joke first. But listen, I on the first one with the coach speak, I'm mad at. Micah Parsons did not have to engage in this. By the way, what are you going to do with George Kittle? You think you can cover Kittle in space? You ain't Fred Warner. Stop it. And that was a blunder. I agree with you.
So I ask you this. Panic meter 1 to 10. Cowboys, based on what I told you, the schedule, the whole 9. Are you concerned? Forget the playoffs. Obviously, we know that there are tiers to this. We know that San Francisco.
Playoffs?
Right. We know that San Francisco. We know that San Fran is Philly, right?
I just want them to win 9 games.
Clearly, Dallas is not on that tier right now at this point. Okay.
What you mean, like when you say that tier?
That top tier 1 with Philadelphia and San Francisco right now.
Okay.
Those as they say on the streets, there's levels to this. They're not on that level just yet. They're level 2 at this point still.
I've always had them at tier 2.
Correct.
So, when you say to me panic and disappointment, and I'm not dissing you, this is for those at large who will hear my response. How can I be panicked when they are what I thought they were?
Right. But
I didn't let them off the hook, and neither did the Niners.
Right, but you actually think they're worse than I thought. You have them worse than I thought. I haven't won the Super Bowl, going to Super Bowl as a wild card. But again, you look at the schedule, as I just mentioned a while ago. Scale 1 to 10, 10 being most panicked, 1 being most. Just as a playoff team at this point, are you concerned? 1 to 10, panic meter.
Okay, so since you're posing it as the prospect of them making the playoffs, 5.
Okay.
Like, they got spanked by a superior team.
Right.
How many weaknesses did that reveal? I mean, I think what it showed us is that Dak Prescott is old. I think it showed us that Dak Prescott is not mobile enough to do that part of his game. Thus, he is incomplete as a quarterback asset. And I can't take credit for that take. I'm not the only one coming up with it, but I think we have been shown that in playoff scenarios against elite screw elite top 10 NFL defenses. He's going to shrink if he's put in position to have to move. If they play against an offense that does not make mistakes, the 49ers, the Eagles make mistakes. That's a winnable game. We saw the Cowboys do it with a Riptide Rush, if I remember correctly.
Right.
But I feel like that's the thing. People are like, oh, the 49ers showed the blueprint. You tell me some other defenses out there that have Fred Warner and Bosa in such a fashion with a great defensive tackle core, by the way, and a defensive back core that isn't the strongest on the team, but is still pretty good to do the job done. The blueprint is great. Hey, listen, you know what, EJ Christian? If I hire an army of experts to build a house, sure, they'll build me a mansion. But if I don't have, if I'm hiring you and your kids to build me a house, I might have a tree house. No offense to you and your kids, but that's the difference. Like when they're playing the other teams that have that capability, that's a problem. How many teams have that capability? That's why I'm not panicked beyond a 5. Now, to your point, the Rams are frisky, and that defense with Aaron Charles Donald in the middle might be enough to expose Dak. That could be a loss, and that I think would make the franchise panic because everybody thought the Rams, including us, would struggle. Well, actually, in fairness, you and I, me especially, but you and I think we didn't know what to think. I had the Rams with 7 wins. So
I had them at 8. I had them at 8. But a lot of us we
were huge optimists with those numbers. That's my point.
But the thing is, also, I could have seen a scenario where they won 10+ because of Stafford being back.
Yeah.
And then a scenario where he's hurt and they were like under 8-7 wins. So it's one of those things where we didn't know.
Who knew that they would emerge another receiver? By the way, another great receiver to emerge under Matt Stafford's watch, but nobody wants to talk about John Matthew Stafford. Next question, EJ Christian.
Before we get out on the Cowboys real quick, Dak. He has a ceiling. Obviously, he is what he is. He's a good quarterback.
The problem is the ceiling got lower too, but continue.
It's getting lower every year. To be honest with you, I won't go so far as say he cost him his game because the game was pretty much over from the word go. They played out of their game plan. Their game plan these days is to run the football, and then Dak will throw the ball when necessary. But of course, like you fall behind by 2 scores early in the game, you're forcing Dak to do something that, to be real though, is not typically his biggest strength, which is throwing the football.
Well, and this is the same Dallas Cowboy offensive line that was so great that propelled Tony Romo and DeMarco Murray. You saw what happened to Murray's career once he left that line, right? He wasn't a bad back, but he was just a serviceable one. He wasn't, world beating, right? And I think with Dak, it's the same sort of thing, right? He came in to take over for Romo. 4th overall pick, was better at the time than guys who were top level. Right. If he doesn't run into that buzzsaw of Aaron Charles Rodgers in his first playoff game where he did the job and the defense just couldn't finish it, right? We might be having Dak Prescott, the comps to Dak and Brock Purdy, though they probably shouldn't have, are surprising me with their accuracy.
Right.
So,
do you
Shanahan's a better coach than Dak ever had.
So here's my question though, Dak. Because he's gonna be due some new money soon. If you're Jerry Jones, is he? I mean, you cut him. That's a $60 million cap hit this offseason. You keep him, but you also risk having to pay him more money because the market is shifting again, of course. And Dak, of course, whatever it may be, he's gonna ask for money no matter what. And maybe that's
I'm not sure. I'm not sure what you mean by that. So, like, if you cut him,
is Dak Prescott the long-term solution to Dallas right now, or should they go after another quarterback?
Okay, and this is why money ties in so hot. Like, I appreciate you acknowledging that, right? So here's what I think the real problem is, right?
Mm-hmm.
When it comes to Dak, he obviously's got a big price tag on him, right?
Yeah.
Normally, the way you solve for that is you find somebody so damn desperate that they need anybody to fill that gap.
Yeah.
And they'll eat the cost because, they're just trying to field something, right?
Mm-hmm.
Dak's so expensive, I don't know that you'll have a taker that's foolish enough to do that here, right? And since we're doing contract talk, I got to put on the glasses, right?
No worries. No worries.
Yeah, so right now, if I'm looking here, see, this is the problem. I meant to look this up before I got on the show, and then I didn't.
It's okay.
And asking, and I'm like, son of a. So yeah, next year's number, if they cut him, is 61 mil, like you said.
Right.
Versus a cap hit of 40. I think they're stuck with him one more year, EJ Christian.
Yeah.
They're stuck with him one more year. The good news, air quotes, good news with that is, here's another scenario. This is okay. This is a scenario that the Cowboys hope for, but I don't think it's very likely. They trade Dak. That's the move here. I don't think anybody's arguing with that. We can talk about who potential takers might be, but here's the thing: whoever's trading him is going to be doing it as a starter, right? He's not gonna be able to slash his price to backup money. That's not happening here. Okay.
Right.
Also for Dak, yeah. So somebody would have to take that trade. We could talk about what a good price would be: third, second round pick, whatever. And Dak would have to be assured that he would sign an extension that would not only lower his cap hit, but also be enough compensation to where he would still feel it's worth it. And who knows? I mean, maybe he'll retire after 24. Maybe he'll retire after this season, seeing that his career is a dead end. I don't know. This is entirely speculation.
I mean,
right?
Let's be real. It's not like he's Daniel Jones bad. Like, I mean, the guy's still top 14 quarterback in the league, top half of the league.
But again, when money dictates funny things, right?
Right.
And if you don't have a value, you get stuck. As much as people want to talk about blackballing, what blackballs you is stuff most likely related to the green, in that you're more expensive than your production. It's called business, people, right? That being said, I make up all these scenarios like Dallas could at least try to shop him and hope some sucker comes in and takes the trade off their hands, or maybe they could subsidize some of the cap hit. That would still be less than the $40 million. You know, they can find a number of ways to mitigate the cost. And actually, that's probably the most likely scenario, is that they trade Dak and subsidize some of the hit that the incoming team would receive, so that he could at least be a stopgap while they find whatever it is. But yeah, no, we're going on and on about this. The long and the short is, it's a complicated situation. The simplest version is that Dak is there at least one more year.
All right, let's go to the team that actually won now. I know we spent 22 minutes talking about the team that lost. I mean, again, it's the Cowboys. You get it.
Hey, no, listen, it's cool. The NFL Network and the media at large have been talking about Buffalo all week, when nobody's talking about the Jacksonville Jaguars defense doing what they did in London the past 2 weeks. Unless, of course, you or me writing for the Jaguar Report.
Bing. Yeah. And it's about Brock Purdy. 5 games, 5-0 Niners. It feels like to me, even though we have 2 5-0 teams in the league right now, it feels like one is still cut above the rest. It feels like if I did like a tier ranking down the league, tier 1 is one team. It's the Niners. Then you go tier 2, the Eagles. Then you want to go tier 2 to Eagles, maybe the Chiefs or whatever. And then tier 3, do it, fill up a point. I feel like the Niners, even though they're not the only unbeaten team through 5 weeks in the year, they are, to me anyway, through 5 weeks, the clear-cut best team in football.
Yeah, and Tool Time has expressed thus on the Huddle Up podcast. And, this is different than other years where you've tried to prop the Niners, in that you're obviously correct, right? We could say what we will about Philly. I think the difference with Philly is that their floor is lower. We can argue about whose ceiling's higher on any given Sunday. Mm-hmm. Certainly, Jalen Hurts, if you compare just Jalen Hurts and Brock Purdy, Jalen Hurts on his best day as a quarterback will be better than Brock Purdy talent-wise.
Do you agree?
There's no question. As far as actual roster makeup, buddy, it's not close. But that's what happens when you pay a quarterback. Listen, and this might be my intro on the Student of the Game podcast. What Brock Purdy's doing with San Francisco, what Kyle Shanahan is doing in San Francisco, may not necessarily be original in how it was done, but he's redefining an approach overall and galvanizing an approach in football that could and has worked. It's kind of the football version of Moneyball, such that it is. And the first go-round with Oakland may not have worked out, but eventually did in Boston. God, I'm talking baseball.
It's the playoffs, man.
And I use that same analogy. It worked with Garoppolo for 3.5 quarters of a Super Bowl even. And who's to say it won't work again for Brock Purdy? At day's end, I picked the Bengals, and I still feel silly about it. I picked I didn't pick the 49ers to make the Super Bowl because it's a long season, and their style of play just tells me that injuries will come. And the moment Trent Williams goes down again, that's going to be problematic.
Yeah, I agree with you on that one, and especially with the injury part. It's a long.
But if he stays healthy, I'm happy to celebrate that. You were right all along.
And the only concern is that you're just hoping the Niners are not peaking so early in the year. That's the thing. But that being said,
I don't think that logic works here. What's different about the 49ers is they're so mentally sound that if they're peaking or have peaked, the machine nature of the 49ers to continue on, that's not what scares me. Again, a cog in the machine has to break in my mind for that, and that's injuries.
Right, which now lends to the question now about Brock Purdy through 5 games. This chatter about MVP now, and before we go yes or no on this one, I'm gonna throw you some numbers here.
Okay,
and then we'll see. We'll go from there. And this is not, remember, this is only a 5-game sample. Okay, through 5 games, he has totaled now 1,271 passing yards. That's 8th in the NFL. He has 9 touchdown passes, tied for 7th. At the pace of 9.3 yards per pass attempt. That's the stat I always look at as the elixir too. 2nd in the NFL. He's also been one of the most efficient quarterbacks, completing 70% of his passes, which is 2nd in the NFL, and most importantly, 0 interceptions. I see those numbers. I'm like, oh, that's crazy. If I didn't know that was Brock Purdy, but I just those numbers at a glance through 5 games, I'm thinking, well, that's definitely someone who's certainly in a conversation. So I asked you, Kyle, is he worthy of the conversation? I'm saying he's the front runner. Saying, is he? If I did a top 5 list of the 5 best performers this year in the NFL, is Brock Purdy in that top 5?
So, because to just say yes or no is boring radio, I'll answer your question this way.
Okay.
You remember the Rookie of the Year race, Ernest Christian?
Which one?
RG3, Andrew Luck.
2012? Okay.
Yeah, very good, right? Mm-hmm. I predicted that year on your show, probably on this segment, that RG3 wouldn't win it. Do you remember why?
Injuries?
No. He would split votes with his running back. Nobody remembers Alfred Morris.
Morris, right, yes.
He was running like a badass for some time. And after his rookie, he kind of trailed off, to your point, injuries. But ironically, this MVP race is just the same. And part of it is because of a guy who hasn't suffered injuries when he has. Christian McCaffrey should and will steal votes from Brock Purdy. And frankly, he's got a better case for the MVP than Brock Purdy.
Agreed.
This dude is surrounded by Pro Bowl / Hall of Fame caliber players, but you want to put it on Brock Purdy. Even as a Niner fan, I cannot do that. To not acknowledge what's already there. Brock Purdy doesn't make these guys better. He's dealing with great talent better than your boy Phil Jackson ever did with the Bulls or the Lakers. Okay? Now, granted, I know that's not a perfect analogy because obviously Phil Jackson didn't play in the games, but this is Russell Wilson back in the Seattle days, legislating the ball, but he never had this much talent catching the football in Seattle, right? But he had the great defense. He had the awesome running back. Everybody knows Marshawn Lynch. My dude Skittles is badass. And instead, also, Purdy has a dude whose name rhymes with Skittles. That's pretty amazing as well, catching the football in George Kittle, right?
Yeah.
He's got more weapons. He's got a Hall of Fame. Listen, say what you will. Maybe you don't think McCaffrey or Kittle or Hall of Fame caliber players. Fine. Trent Williams is. And in that same fashion, when Russell Carrington Wilson had Hall of Fame caliber offensive linemen, he never got the MVP, right?
True.
Brock Purdy isn't it. Everybody goes into that room game planning for McCaffrey, and they're getting beat by everybody else. Hell, Kyle Juszczyk, of course.
Yeah.
is one of the last remaining used fullbacks in the league. And he's awesome at it too. No, you cannot, on sure volume of weapons, you cannot give it to Brock Purdy.
I'll go in further than that. Not only is McCaffrey going to steal votes, McCaffrey through 5 weeks is the front runner for MVP right now. If you asking me who's front runner for MVP? That's the guy.
That's not a bad response. I would argue Tyreek Hill should get more depth than him because McCaffrey is surrounded by a lot more talent.
What I love about that, though, as you're saying that, and I'm saying what I said, it feels great to not mention quarterbacks, at least, off the shoot. There's a receiver,
that's because we're not the lamestream media, and we use our brains here on the Student of the Game Report. Ernest Christian, next question.
Yeah. So, is he in the conversation? I see the argument for it. He's definitely not a front runner. I'm not going to say no. It should be in the conversation at least because the numbers are really good. But at the same time, McCaffrey's just that damn good, and it's him as Tyreek Hill, and I don't know who else want to put in that conversation, with him, but Purdy's not. Purdy deserves at least some of the chatter. I will say he's been
he's top four at best.
Yeah, I mean,
of course, to answer your question before you ask it, I got Tyreek, McCaffrey, and Patrick Mahomes the second ahead of him.
Okay, you got Mahomes in there. Wow.
Sure.
And Mahomes hasn't been that great.
When your top target is 34 and missing games and bringing distraction a la mode, and you're still delivering.
He again, and to me, when you say things like that, this goes beyond the conversation of him being MVP. It starts solidifying the GOAT conversation now. It starts making that more.
Yes, it's time you finally recognize that a quarterback is supposed to run the football as well to be the GOAT. Next question.
Right. All right. Speaking of, well, I'm glad that's actually a good segue because we're going to go to New England now. You're good at this. You're good at this, man. We discussed this last week on the podcast about Belichick and the Patriots and the history and the future. And we knew the Dallas game, okay, 30-3, yeah, whatever. That's what it is. Then the Saints come to Foxborough and they blast them 34-0. All right, let's have a conversation about the Patriots going forward in the future and Belichick. Because we said on the podcast last week when we did the coach on the hot seat, you had him. I think you had him at a 5, right?
I did.
4, right?
I did, but a lot of it was based on outside factors.
Right. One game. Can one game shift that number now for you? Because you listen to a lot of Pats fans now. It's almost a majority now.
So let me stop you there.
Okay.
Pats fans have been asking for Belichick to be fired for a decade. Can we just not worry about that?
But it's not as pronounced as it is now.
Isn't it? But here's the thing. The reason why it's more pronounced is because that the lame stream sees the record compared to it and can actually say that, I'll put it this way: if you write enough letters at Shawshank, you eventually get your library. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
There's a reference for you.
Yeah. I'm still not saying that he should lose his job in a year, but I think Robert Kraft has to have a conversation with him going into the offseason about personnel or making decisions going forward, because clearly he's the guy that also not only is a coaching team, he makes all the personnel decisions now.
And I think we talked about that last week as well. Personnel, right. Bill, if he can get above his ego and part with that part of the job, I think they have something to keep him in the building. And that's a great – hey, listen, to Bob Kraft's credit, here's my strategy if I'm him. Granted, his hair is white, but he has hair as good as me if it is real. Anyways, the punchline is this. The more games the Pats lose and the worse they do, two things happen. A, the more likely they can get themselves in the sweepstakes to get, let's say, a Michael Penix, a Bo Nix, somebody like that in the building, right?
At this point, you can't rule out Caleb Williams also too. They're 1-4 right now. The only game ahead of Carolina.
The reason why I don't say that is because if that happens, he's the obvious choice.
Right.
But yeah, we can't rule that out. But let's say that doesn't occur because,
fair enough.
The Bears are still a thing is my point, right?
Right. Fair enough.
Or even the Broncos, let's be clear. I could see a scenario where Bill trades to get Rusty, takes the picks, and rebuilds the team. or I shouldn't say Bill, because if my plan, if I'm Mr. Kraft, works right, the more they fail, the more I hire a GM proper, and then Bill has to deal with it. Would Bill capitulate? Listen, dude's known for having a grudge, right? So I don't know that that'll fly. And it may come down to personal with the personnel as to whether or not Bill stays in the building.
But it's safe to say at this point now, barring a massive turnaround between now and week 18 this year, the Mac Jones
Let's just say the miraculous. Barring the miraculous, EJ.
The Mac Jones era is done.
The
Mac Jones starting quarterback for the Patriots, that's over.
Yeah, I'll agree with that. He'll catch on somewhere and be a good backup, I think. We've seen how leaving the New England culture is a weight lift off of players, whether it be Gronk and Brady or anybody else. It's not just them. So, yeah, I think Mac Jones has the capacity to be successful at another NFL franchise, even if it is just as a backup. Like him backing up Geno makes a butt ton of sense.
So Belichick is still chasing Shula's record. I think Shula's at 348, right? I believe 348 is the number he's at.
347.
347. And Belichick's at 299 right now currently, I believe, right?
Yeah. Bill, if he's going to get it, it's going to be with different colors. That's what I'm telling you.
No, I agree. But here's the thing that no one's talking about. Andy Reid is not far behind Belichick right now.
No, he's not.
Andy Reid also has Pat Mahomes, who's probably just entering his prime. That's the funny thing, is that Mahomes been so good the first 5 years of his career. That probably wasn't even his prime yet.
We don't know what Patrick LeVon Mahomes II's prime is yet, because
that's scary as shit.
Well, for two reasons. It's scary to the positive and it's scary to the negative. What's something that Brady brought with him when he left? Think Linus from Peanuts there, EJ Christian. That's right, his blanket. Right. Now, granted, if you're going to call Travis Kelce a blanket, it's got a lot more stains and probably some more alcohol poured on it, but I'm not judging. Right. But the punchline's this, man. We need to see what Patrick LeVon Mahomes II is without Travis Kelce. Because if he's the guy that can go with any weapon, we're in Peyton Manning but mobile territory, right? Who did Peyton Manning have for the long part of his career? Yeah, it's Dallas Clark.
Yeah,
I remember saying that in the first rendition of the Student the Game podcast, such that it was before I rebooted it, right? Mm-hmm. When Clark was done, he was still making guys turn up. He goes to Denver and puts up numbers that we weren't supposed to see.
Julius Thomas.
Right, Julius Thomas, Emmanuel Sanders. We weren't supposed to see Randy Moss and Wes Welker get eclipsed, and it happened. Mm-hmm. Right? We need to see that happen with Patrick LeVon Mahomes II before we start talking about primes.
And at this point, why would I doubt him? Given we've seen the first
no, we say doubt it. I'm just saying that has to happen.
But my thing is with Andy Reid, and this is a chance to the whole Belichick thing. Andy Reid at this point averages at least 10, 11 wins a year.
Yeah,
on average, and that's on the average. I mean, he more so will win 13 or 14 than he won the low end.
If I remember correctly, his playoff win record's pretty awesome too. I haven't looked it up.
Right.
But,
so he's at I think he's at 266 right now, Andy Reid.
That's
insane. So he would need another like 7 to 8 years of 10+ win seasons, which is very doable with that quarterback. I think people talk about Belichick catching the record. I think it's very possible that Andy Reid.
Let's be careful with very doable, because injuries are a thing.
No. All considered, injuries are always a thing.
It's in striking distance is the term.
Yeah, I think Andy Reid is a larger threat to that record than people give credit for. The question is going to be, well, does Andy Reid want to continue coaching that long? And
they're not ready to deal with the fact that Andy Reid's biggest opponent and all that, as much as we're talking about these other factors, is Andy Reid. Mm-hmm. His health is going to be what would potentially stymie that. To
your point. But the fact that Andy Reid is within earshot of this thing is pretty impressive, because we've been hearing about Belichick for years. And Belichick,
dude, I've been an Andy Reid guy for a time. By the way, when the two coaches play each other, who regularly dominates that matchup? Not just wins, EJ Christian dominates that matchup.
It's normally Andy Reid. Just saying. Although,
at least with the Chiefs. Now, granted, Bill did get the last laugh in the Super Bowl, but that's a whole other question.
Bill got in the Super Bowl in Super Bowl 2004, and then he also got an H title game, Brady's second last year in New England. But still, sorry. All right, Let's do contender pretender. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 10 teams here I want to talk about. Not the obvious teams, obviously, on top of the card, but there's some teams here that are kind of either playing above their heads or maybe that should be playing better than they are, but we consider teams that should be in the mix. But I want to see through 5 weeks. And to me, when I interpret a contender, to me, it's like, do you see this team at least getting to the conference championship game? To me, that's to me
competing
is a
for
contender.
A spot in the Super Bowl.
Yeah. That's why I interpret a contender for me. Do I see this team, a la New York Giants? No, not really. Playing an NFC title game. Obviously, no.
I see them contending for a top pick, but that's a whole other question.
Top pick.
Good thing we don't have a Giants fan on this panel.
Yeah, exactly. Right. Piss me off. Anyway,
go
first
Chiefs.
Team here, Baltimore Ravens, 3-2, contender or pretender at this point, in your eyes?
Man, that's a tough one. So today, competing to make the Super Bowl, that means they have to beat in a playoff game some combination of Cincinnati, Miami, and Buffalo, or even the Jaguars at this point. I'm not convinced they can beat them. I'm going to say no, but they're on the door, or they're on the line.
They're complicated because they're literally probably 2 plays from being 5-0 right now.
It is complicated. Yeah.
They're very complicated.
But again, who have they lost to is also my question.
The Colts they lost to with 7 players down. The Steelers in a game where they were 2 yards away from taking a double-digit lead, and
which, by the way,
late in the game,
law of conference game applies to the Steelers. It's still among, if not the best rivalry in the damn league, and has been for some time.
Baltimore up 2 points. By the way, they fucked me my parlay for the record because I had my 3 of the 4 teams right.
Hey, at least you didn't beat the Texans, am I right? Or bet the Texans, am I right?
I did not. Stay away from that game. As I told you.
I tried to tell you, but you wouldn't listen.
Right. Baltimore up 2 points, about to go up by 9 or 10 late in the middle to late in the fourth quarter, and they fumble the ball. Pitcher comes back, scores, and they win the game.
I mean,
again, those are one of those things. You're 2 plays away from being 5-0, being with the San Frans and the Phillies.
Also, 2 conference losses, which will impact playoff placement.
Now, can they clean up this mess? Yes, they can. Will they is the question. And to boot, you still have the lingering Lamar Jackson theory. Is going to be healthy to see all this play out by December, January.
Well, and take that off the question. That's why I answered it the way I did, Ernest Christian. Thank you for unboxing the depthness of my response and showing the world how smart, in fact, I am. He said modestly. Like
I'm going to link.
They do all of that. They still have to do what I said with the playoff victories. Right?
I'm going to pretend for the time being, but I'm with you. They're on the door because if they clean up those things and Lamar does stay healthy, they're definitely in the mix. But
yeah, 100%.
I just want to say pretender. All right, let's stay in division. The 2-3 Cincinnati Bengals.
Anybody else, I would call them pretenders. Let me tell you why the Bengals can still contend. Mm-hmm. Now, granted, the correct answer is actually on the line, right? Because the only thing that throws all this into limbo is the health of one Joseph Burr, right? Mm-hmm. If Joey Burrow were healthy, I'd say pretender, look out. They always start slow. This is kind of a thing the Bengals do. This is why you putting this in as a host is a good question, because I get to reiterate that fact, unlike the complete silliness that was your boy, Mikey Byrne, putting them in the bottom 5 in his own mind last week. And technically, it wasn't the bottom 5. It was one spot above.
That's also because, but again, it's like Jim and like Mike. They're using their personal fan thing. Oh, I feel bad about it. No, step away from it a little bit. Think broadly about everything.
But in his defense, the part about it that was completely based in fact was the injury and handling of one Joseph Burr. It concerns me as well. They beat the Cardinals, and I picked the Cardinals on the Student of the Game podcast, Bing. Mm-hmm. And they not only beat the Cardinals, they did so convincingly, which made me reevaluate. And I will say the correct answer is on the line, but if I'm forced to choose one, I won't straddle the fence. I will say they are contending.
No, I'm with you. 100% contender. What I saw on Sunday is this. And if they beat Seattle this Sunday, they'll get to where I needed to get them to. 3-3, bye week, rest the calf, and then you can run off.
If they blow it to Seattle, and this is how much they're teetering, if they blow it against Seattle, I am saying pretender.
Straightforward, that might be game of the week. because Seattle. Well, let me say why.
Seattle had to buy this week, or did they? No, they had to buy last.
No, they had to buy this past week.
Yeah.
Seattle is trying to form themselves as the 4th team, maybe the 5th team in the NFC. You know, these are games that matter.
And what I could argue is the friskiest NFC division.
Yeah, easily. Rams, them, and of course Niners are just bad, and even the Cardinals have been hard to put away. But I'm with you.
Over the East, really? You're selling out on the East that fast? I mean, if that's the case, it's only because the Giants suck that hard. But
the Giants are terrible. The Commanders are where they thought what you thought they were. You try to tell me, but I wouldn't listen.
That's okay. That's just one of the 2 L's in Howell's name that got me there. Continue.
Right. So no, this is actually easy for me. Now, obviously, next week changes things. If next week they lose Seattle, then I'm back on the line again. You know, I feel better about this Bengals team being 3-3 going to the bye than 2-4.
Right.
This is a huge game for the Bengals this coming week. So I'm gonna go to the Contender. They built a lot of trust last couple of years. By the way, isn't that weird saying the Bengals trust the Bengals? Oh, unbelievable. Anyway, speaking of Seattle.
Mm-hmm. That is probably the biggest morning star in my bag for the past 2 damn years.
Yeah. Anyway. Yeah. Speaking of Seattle, Seahawks, pretender.
They're pretenders. Listen, and this isn't because I think they're a bad team. They're just in a bad situation. And by the way, Geno just got hurt, and hopefully he'll be back well enough. He wasn't hurt bad. I think he even played a little bit more in the game after he got injured. But with the bye week and all that, they'll be back on track. Consistency is the issue for the Seahawks. The problem with the Seahawks, such as it are, is they're going to be their own damn division. They need to come out of that strong. A couple games against the Cardinals ain't going to do it, right?
Right.
So, but if they can split in the NFC West, I like their chances to make the playoffs. They're not doing any more than that.
Yeah, pretender as well too. Even that Giants game where they dominated, that was a lot of Giants giving the games to also.
Hold on.
Go ahead.
I have to pump the brakes on something. No, yeah. I'm going to say pretender, but a little less confidently, because in order to get the idea is that they can get to conference championship Sunday to compete for a Super Bowl spot, meaning that in some combination they would need to beat the 49ers, the Philadelphia Eagles, or the Detroit Lions. I do not think they can do that.
Okay. Yeah. I'm going pretender as well too on that one, just because I got to see more. I got to see more from the offense, especially too, from Geno. All right, next one here, LA Chargers, 2-2.
For one reason alone, and it's your favorite guy on the team. They're pretenders because of their coach. How do you have the safety that you do, and Bosa, Derwin James, right? Yeah, and you're still this bad on defense. And it's intolerable. And listen, Kellen Moore has brought in a balanced offense. They're pretenders. It just makes me cry. And I'm not even a Charger guy. I need to send my guy Booga Peters some flowers, bro. Anyways.
He needs it. I'm pretenders all too. That same reason that coach is just untrustworthy. I mean, Herbert's ain't a problem. Plus, they can't stay healthy too. Every year they lose a key player every year on command.
I'm not going to blame. I'm not going to, as you've seen here with my previous picks, I'm not going to make this decision this week based on potential injury. That's why I said what I said about the Ravens without bringing up Lamar Demetrius Jackson.
Right.
But, anyway.
Yeah. Pretender definitely. All right, here we go. The team you cover, the Jacksonville Jaguars.
I got bad news. It's going to be pretender. Listen, here's the thing. Mm-hmm. Their defense is probably the most underappreciated squad in the entire NFL, and it is not bleeding close. The one time they had a bad game was on the basis of 2 key blunders on 2 plays, where give credit to the Texans drafting, where Tank Dell by himself had like 100 and I think it was 20-something yards on 2 plays in that game that blew it wide the bleep open, and not to mention special teams blunders, right? That's the reason why they're 0-1 at Everbank, or 0-2 at Everbank as a home team, and yet 2-0 in England. 1-0 as a home team in London, right? Anyways.
Right.
This defense won that game. But Kyle, the Buffalo Bills kept up at the end, and they played bad in the fourth quarter. First of all, horrible officiating about not knowing what a sack is versus a personal foul is back in play to make that touchdown happen. Look at it again, Ernest question. It was 3rd and 1 and Josh Allen for the first game without a recorded sack, by the way, since being back in the States. Yeah, it was just a horrific call. Check it out. There's a clip of it in my article on Jaguar Report, whatever. But the reason why the offense was allowed to trifle with the Bills such as they did and score only 11 points in the half and come up with 14 of them in the fourth quarter alone is because the defense kept them in that football game. Trevor Lawrence, under duress, is performing better than any other quarterback I've seen since a young Aaron Charles Rodgers. This guy, there's your comp. Trevor Lawrence is Aaron Charles Rodgers young. I said it.
And by the way,
he's got better running backs than young Aaron Charles Rodgers ever did. At least they stay healthy longer, which is interesting. Talking about Travis Etienne, who missed an entire season his rookie year and is running his butt off now. I digress. Had a huge game as well against the Bills, but yeah, no, they don't have quite enough to sustain. Play a full 4 quarters. We'll talk about you being a contender. How about that?
Yeah, I'm a pretender also, but I think they're closer to defense still for me. Because I've seen some good things with this team also. I feel like...
But you haven't seen it for 4 straight quarters.
Right. I got to see a complete game. Like, that points... For this Buffalo game, they're not points on the board.
Oh, indubitably. Yeah.
This should have been a blowout.
But the offensive line's interior is banged up. It's their weakest part of the unit, and they were playing against what could be the best defensive tackle core in the league. Not enough people are talking about the Bills in that way either. But Trevor Lawrence delivering under duress the way he did. Listen, maybe his numbers aren't as cute, but if you watch the damn film, when Calvin really catches the football, they make some amazing plays.
He's amazing. And you're good at this because Buffalo Bills is the next team on this list.
They're going to be contenders for one reason. And listen, Jim and I have both been critical of them as an up and down team, but the reason why I can't leave them out is on their best day, they have the potential to be the best team in football. Yes, the best team entirely in football, even over the San Francisco 49ers. The problem is when they play the 49ers, I don't think they'll be allowed to have their best day, okay? So I have to say this. Highest ceiling in the league as a team, by default, I have to say they're contenders. Even though I don't think they're going to get there.
Yeah, contenders well too. They got a very, very high ceiling. That's the thing. Their ceiling is top team in the league. It's just that high ceiling. Sometimes they don't attain it.
Gabe Davis made to keep him in the game.
Yeah,
absolutely ridiculous. Over Darius Williams, who had a day that day. With an interception, the final fumble forced, pass defended, led the team in tackles. You can read about all of that in the Jaguar report. Bing.
Contender also too. This is probably gonna be cute, but we'll say it anyway. The 3-1 Tampa Buccaneers. All right, next team.
I'm sorry, what did you to list the actual team we're talking about?
Pretender, it's easy, right? Come on.
Hey, listen, real talk. For all the times we've said that the Tampa Bay Buccaneers had such a good roster and that your boy Jameis Winston was the problem. Baker Mayfield's current success. Yes, I did that on purpose. Baker Mayfield's current success right, is proof in the pudding because that roster ain't what it was, but it's still pretty bleeding good in a weak division. And look what the hell he's doing. But contenders, get the bleep out of here.
All right. Next team here, the Miami Dolphins.
Contenders. Granted, we've seen their defense get exposed like, well, one of your arguments again. Anyways, but the punchline. Listen,
it is what it is.
I know their defense is bad, and they're probably looking to shore that up. But I think part of the problem is just the Buffalo effing Bills. I can see a reality that exists where if the seeding meshes out right, that the Finns and the Bills could be playing for a Super Bowl opportunity in Conference Championship Sunday. Do I think that will happen? No. But I can make the argument that it's more likely the Finns can get there because that offense controls things and can score so fast. If the offensive line handles their business, isn't facing the best defensive tackles in the league, if let's say they make the playoffs as a wild card,
Mhm.
I'm assuming the Bills win the division still, just as we predicted, right?
Mhm.
Which may not happen. Who knows?
They're right now in first place in the division. So
Correct. That means they would have to beat in some combination the Bengals, Jaguars, Bills, and Chiefs. No, I can't do it. So they're going. That's a tough go.
but the contender though.
I'm going to say contender, but I just don't see it happening.
Right. Okay. I'm contender as well too because the offense is fucking lethal.
The correct answer is on the line, just like
right. Because and the combination you were just saying is it's going to be tough. But doesn't that apply to every team though in that conference though too also?
What's that?
But doesn't that logic apply to every team in that conference also too? The logic of like the combination of teams to play. So Miami plays a combination of KC, Cincinnati, and Jacksonville. Well, KC has to play Miami, Buffalo, Cincinnati
right.
too.
The reason it's different with the Dolphins is because of the bad defense, right? Think of the teams I just listed there; all have top flight quarterbacks.
Right. True. That's a good point. Two more teams here. Let's go. Detroit Lions, 4-1.
Because it's the NFC, they are contenders. Let me go through the list again, Ernest Christian. It's the Niners, it's the Eagles, then who?
Right.
Carry on.
That's where I'm at too. Also, I don't know exactly. I mean, I'm gonna on the line for me maybe. I still think Dallas is the better team, which is my last team here. I will still right now in this moment. Now, of course, this can change in weeks to come because of the things we see, the schedule, and all that. I'll say pretender for the time being, but they are trending closer to the contender status because I still think Dallas, my last team here on the list, is.
See, all you're doing is giving me fuel, giving me fire, and give me that which I desire to continue to call you a tool.
Okay, James
See
Sheffield. Calm down, James Sheffield.
Ooh.
I'm gonna still say contender for the Cowboys because there could be a scenario where they avoid playing San Francisco in the divisional round.
Now, the reason why I can't sign off on the Cowboys is to stay true to my prediction. I said 8 wins and missing the playoffs in September or August. I forget which.
Right.
Bang. But if I said that then, I sure as hell can't say contender now.
Can they be San Francisco at this point? I don't think so. Can it be Philadelphia?
I don't think so. You went full Macaulay Culkin in that beast.
Right. Can it be Philadelphia, though?
# Home Alone reference. Mommies and daddies used to think that movie was great around Christmas time. Anyway.
I still love the movie. Kidding me?
I'm talking about how old it is, not you.
It's 33 years. It's 33 years old, and it still ages well.
You didn't have to bring that up, did you?
I'm sorry. I love that movie. I can't help it.
See, all you're doing is making people think I'm younger than I actually am.
You want to hear something funny though? I never
other than your arguments in Tool Time.
Yeah, I never considered. I actually never considered that a Christmas movie until recently, until the last like 10 years. I just never thought about it. No, I just never thought of it.
You're one of these morons that tries to tell me that Die Hard's a Christmas movie at the same time.
No. I'm not that guy. No. I'm not that guy. I'm saying that I've never when I watch Home Alone, I watched it in April. I watched it in February. I watched it in June. It never occurred to me that it was a Christmas movie. It was just a great movie that happened to be made around the Christmas time. That's all I know.
Be careful with great. Like, listen, that movie's more overrated than Russell Carrington Wilson as a rookie. Okay,
that's a file for content. Book it. We got that topic going now. I'm sure Jim will love that one. But the Cowboys though, I'm gonna go contender still because I can see scenario they can still evade San Francisco.
Give me fuel, give me fire, give me that which I desire.
Also, underrated topic too with them in Philadelphia. We haven't seen a full strength Cowboys Eagles game in 2 years. Both games last year, one team missed the starting quarterback. First game was Dak missed the first game. Then the second game they played last year, Mr. Jalen Hurts missed that game. So we haven't seen a full strength Cowboys Eagles game yet. I want to see those two teams go at it.
The law of divisional matchup also applies there. You're absolutely right.
So that's the only reason why I want to say contender still, because they can still. I still think right now,
because they might beat the Eagles in a divisional matchup, they're still contenders. That doesn't mean they're going to beat the Lions. It certainly doesn't mean they're going to beat.
I think they're better. Well, they played this year, so it's cool. But I do think
nothing to do with playoffs, but cool story, bro.
Gun to my head right now, who's a better team? I still have Dallas out of Detroit. Me personally.
I'm sorry. I'm not Zach. Moving on.
That shit tastes good, bro. All right. Anyway, one last thing. I want to wrap it this NFL stuff here. Jonathon Taylor, new contract, new deal with the Colts. 3 years, $42 million. $26.5 million guaranteed. You've seen coming to the year the conversation about running backs not getting the money. Saquon had to sign a 1-year deal. Josh Jacobs at LA, Vegas Raiders had to sign a 1-year deal. I look at this deal, it's like, ooh, is this a sign of good news, at least for an upswing of maybe some backs getting some money they deserve to some degree?
No.
You tell me.
No, absolutely it's not. Because they have the advantage of not having to pay a goddamn quarterback right now. Okay? This is not that scenario. Now, granted, to your point, the lamestream media is going to cling to it like that, right? And boy, howdy, Jonathon Taylor's got as much pressure on him, not quite as much as Le'Veon Bell, who caused this whole mess in the first place. Hashtag I said it and been saying it. Okay. Do I like that JT got his money? Yes. Do I like this deal? Call me Bishop Bullwinkle. Hail to the no, because they have so many other pieces that they need to account for on that squad. Like, I am not impressed by the receiver core and all of the above. That being said, because they are uniquely matched up to the Jacksonville Jaguars, such as they are with DeForest Buckner in the middle, they're still a threat in Jacksonville.
Bless you.
But as far as him resetting the market, there's a lot that has yet to be seen. I think it will have its impact. People will respond to that. People will observe this. And it has the potential. The problem is Jonathon Taylor is not a great receiving threat. So can he pull enough weight without having that to make the impact necessary to support, be it Anthony Richardson or Uncle Rico?
All right, let's get some college football talk now. Now we have got an hour of football. Let me see if this actually works. I tried two of these files here. So it actually works here. Can you see that? Is that large enough there?
You haven't shared the screen yet that I see. You need to do your proper directing skills. And there it is.
Is that large enough?
I can fake it. Let me get the glasses out. I have to revert to Clark Kent for a moment.
For the listeners, I'm saying this is large enough for the listeners. Let me see.
Try using the window without the side panels in our handsome faces there. That might.
It's hard to do it. That's hard to do it there. I think it's large enough. If you increase, yeah, she did say that. If you increase it, okay, we're with that. Here's the top 25 right now, currently. One Georgia, two, the top two. No, not changed. Georgia, Michigan 1 and 2.
Boy, it's nice to see what happens when Georgia wakes up, isn't it?
Dominant win by Georgia, though. Mike, welcome back. Hey, I'm glad it's October now. Michigan, of course, doing their thing.
I tried to tell you guys UK was overranked, but I digress.
Still think Michigan's been number one, though, because they've been the most dominant team all the way through. But it's like whatever.
We're splitting hairs at that point, and you don't have hairs to split. You're bald.
Ohio State moved up again? Oh, were they 3 last week? I remember.
I don't remember if they were 3 last week. I don't think they were. I think that was Texas. But yeah, they moved up because Texas, basically.
Right. I'll tell you right now. Hold on. Give me 1 quick second because I have the other list here.
As he said rapid fire earlier, but go ahead.
Yeah, no. All right. So Ohio State moved up 1 spot to 3. Florida State up 1 spot to 4. I've been saying all weekend long, I'm a Knowles fan. I'm glad what they're doing. They don't feel like a top 5 team to me personally. But again,
and I wouldn't put them at 4 either, but I digress.
Right. But again, when you have teams losing out of the top 10, I get it. 5, we got Oklahoma up 7 spots for that big win in Texas. Fun game, huh?
So let me be clear. I have been on many shows decrying and showing criticism of Dillon Gabriel. Yeah. That's not going away. The dude made 1 significant drive that was successfully completed with passing the football, something he never did in his past career at other places where I've covered him.
Right.
However, him running around with the football, I've been telling people he can do that, even as somebody who's critical of one Dillon Gabriel, for years, and he actually did it. But the reason why I like the fact that Venables coached Oklahoma team is 5th is because Oklahoma did something in that football game we haven't seen them do for years. What is it, Ernest Christian?
Run the ball.
I'm on your show, so I'm going to say this as if you were saying it. Play fucking defense.
Oh.
Takeaways. Dillon Gabriel didn't win that football game.
Defense did.
Defense won that football game. And Ewers, listen, I don't think Ewers is a Heisman winning quarterback personally, but he is good at his job, and he is a good quarterback, okay? You don't have to be a Heisman winner to be a good quarterback.
But he's not Heisman worthy.
But to see an Oklahoma defense do what they did in the trenches, I wasn't ready. So this placement of Oklahoma at 5, I put them at 4 ahead of FSU personally.
Okay.
This placement of Oklahoma at 5 and putting Texas where they are, though I would argue, well, actually, no, I like them at 9. This exchange of Oklahoma escaping with a win is what is portrayed here, and I think it's perfect.
And they could play again in a Big 12 championship, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I think it's a stage for a rematch, and I think Texas wins that game, honestly.
Which how could a pub would that be for the SEC? But I digress.
6 through 8 interchange, nothing changed here. 6 through 8, Penn State, Washington,
not
Oregon.
Interchangeable. Penn State does not belong in the top 10, and that's a goddamn crime.
Well, we're going to find out very soon. I think they play Michigan
in 2 weeks. They get around to eventually playing Ohio State. In the meantime, they play absolutely nobody and get away with it, and it's the biggest sham in college football. Continue.
Kyle's big mad. 7-8, we'll know this week.
I am.
7-8.
I'm getting sick, and I like Coach Franklin too. But Penn State is fool's gold. They're as big a frauds as the Atlanta fraud cons. Okay.
Tell our boy G Steelio that. 7-8, of course.
Get him on the show, and he'll respond by saying,
"I'd love to get him on the show, man.
Contender is great quarterback."
7-8.
I dare you to clip that and make it a short and send it to him.
I should. 7-8. Also, they play this weekend, so we'll know more about 7-8 by the end of this weekend. Washington, Oregon.
They should be 6 and 7, and that's right where they should be.
I agree with him on that one.
Penix is my dude, but I'm very scared if I'm a Washington fan. I'll put it this way: if I'm a Washington fan and I see Oregon on the schedule, I say, "Woof!" See what I did there?
Texas down 6 spots at number 9. I don't mind that.
Perfect.
Sets a stage for later in the year. USC down another spot at 10.
Perfect. Absolutely perfect. Play some goddamn defense.
Thank you. Alabama 11. Nothing changed there.
Right where it should be.
Carolina up 2 spots at 12.
Why are you even in the top 20?
I don't know. ACC love, baby. 13. Ole Miss up 3 spots.
Love it.
Okay, 14. Louisville, big win.
You barely beat overrated Notre Dame. Why are you here? Stop it.
Barely. They won by 11 points, didn't they?
Oh, then yeah, they still suck. Notre Dame being overrated again is a reason why a trash ACC team. Listen, I get it. It's a conference win for Louisville. But at the end of the day, no, neither of these teams are this good. It's complete trash.
I just think you're hating because it's the ACC. That's why. But it's okay. 15.
Maybe that's possible, but yeah, maybe I hold disdain for weaker conferences like the ACC.
Yeah, 15.
Except
Oregon State.
Knowles. They're actually better than the rest of the conference, and it's not close. And if they blow it, I will talk so much trash on you.
As you should. 15. Oregon State. Nothing changed there. Oregon State. 15. Yeah.
Yeah. Listen, I love it. I had faith in them, and they delivered against Utah. You'll have to explain to me why they're only one place ahead of Utah, but that's a whole other question.
Yeah, 16, 17, both Utah and Duke in that order, up 2 spots from the last week's spot.
Why is Duke still in the top 25?
Because they're competitive. That's why.
Stop it.
18, UCLA.
It's hard to read them. I like that they're getting depth and love for to account for the fact that they've had quarterback issues, but their defense is still amazeballs. But yeah, I'll put it this way. I like them where they're at better than the next spot where Tennessee is in place. That is crazy. For all I get accused of being an SEC homer, the Tennessee placement perplexes me more than anything that is not the Penn State Nittany Lions.
Right. We got a tie at 19 for with Tennessee and Washington State. Washington State down 6 spots. Tennessee up 3 spots.
I don't know why Washington State is top 25. They too are fraudulent, and time will show that. I won't get mad at it.
Here we go. 21, Notre Dame, down 11 spots.
Well, I don't want to give anybody a hard time that's in our family, but that conference loss was ridiculous. I'm very disappointed in that conference loss, and I'll leave it at that.
You have to admit, though, they've played the toughest stretch of football of anybody in the country right now. They played, obviously, Ohio State. Duke is a tough team. Louisville this week, and USC coming up this week.
That's the one defense I'll accept, is that Notre Dame is getting love for the toughest schedule they've gotten in some time, and I'll appreciate that aspect of it. My thing is, no.
No.
Louisville, really? Why are we giving them an out for losing to Louisville? Why are we propping Louisville up this much? They'll collapse eventually too. Just give it time.
They're unbeaten. That's why. LSU 20. Yeah. LSU 22 up one spot. Probably the most disappointing team of the year.
That's perplexing to me.
Too low or too high?
Too high.
Okay.
I don't know. I don't know why they're in the top 25. And I know there are members of the family that will appreciate
they're LSU.
that.
That's why.
But I find it sweet irony that Notre Dame is only one spot ahead of other people in the family.
23 Kansas.
But I'm not hating on Brian Kelly, EJ Christian. Let me be clear.
You're not. 23 Kansas.
Absolutely asinine. You're getting that build up on beating up on UCF, really? Bitch, please, I saw that game. You ain't that good.
Kentucky at 24, down 4 spots.
I don't dislike it, but, whatever.
And 25, UM.
How are you
spots.
still top 25
Thank you.
after how that game ended? How dare you people?
Thank you. Any thoughts before we get out of here? Any thoughts on that last play?
I think I pretty much dropped those, huh? Right? No, seriously. As a guy who's played offensive line, as a guy who covered the center when he was at UCF before he transferred, Matt Lee, Gus Malzahn called him the best guy at his position when he was at UCF, Matt Lee. And I know people made fun of him when he was in tears on the sideline. I can't blame the damn guy. You don't have control over the plays the coach calls, and you don't have the control as you're helpless to watch the defense just fall apart and give that game to a lowly Georgia Tech team. That blew up the entire Miami season. I don't give a damn if they're ranked top 25. They aren't. I mean, listen, that's a conference game that Notre Dame could easily win, unlike unlike Louisville, apparently. But the punchline's this. You make that big a blunder, you should be punished for it.
That's how I felt. That's how I felt.
Here's how, let me put this in perspective. With the beatdown that took place, 51-22, the Jayhawks over the UCF Knights, which I covered for the Black and Gold Banneret, bing! Mostly playing the role of fan therapist on the live show after the game on night shift, bing! The only reason that's not getting the press as just a complete debacle and collapse in this state is because Miami did what it did. So that should tell you plenty, my guy.
And look, it's not to say that Miami was to me, going to be a playoff team or a contender for national title. But here's the deal:
contend for that conference.
But that's what I'm saying. But you blew the opportunity because here it is right now. You're unbeaten. You're number 17. You play Florida State later in the year, which if Florida State stays unbeaten, you beat them in November. That props you to the conversation. So you lost the opportunity to even make the case for yourselves now by being a fucking idiot.
I mean, in so many words.
By the way, I haven't cussed all show until right now.
Yeah, no, I've done it twice. I've cussed more than you on my show. I must be having a bad week. I mean, I kind of am, but don't cry for me, Earnest Christian. It's fine.
Okay. Not Argentina.
I don't want you to go full Madonna on that. Who knew you would get an Evita reference on this show, Earnest Christian?
Man. Hey, ain't nothing wrong with that. No,
you're in the music.
I love Madonna too. I fell asleep actually on the final drive. Thinking of this game.
Apparently, you aren't the only one. Sorry.
I wake up the next morning. My best friend sends me a text saying, "Did you see that in that game?" I'm like, "And in what game? You guys won because he's a UM fan." He's like, "No, we lost." Like, you lost. So I turn on the gas, turn on the ESPN.
Wait. As an FSU guy, you got the "what had happened was" text from a friend that's a UM guy.
Yeah.
Okay, you must have enjoyed that a little bit.
Yes and no. Because on one hand, it's like you fuckers suck. On the other hand, it's like cool,
that's nice.
But at the same time, we kind of need you guys to be good. So when we beat you guys in November, it helps us our schedule because LSU sucks this year.
No, the reason why what FSU needs to do is assure they expose North Carolina this coming weekend, actually, and show them to be the mediocrity that they are, and not go into overtime with them like y'all did Dabo, EJ Christian.
I know.
Oh, no, wait. North Carolina's playing Miami. I got that wrong.
No. We're playing Syracuse this week.
Thank you. Right. Does FSU play North Carolina this year? Let me check that here.
I'm checking right now, actually. We play.
I'm going to check, you son of a bleep.
The answer is no. I already got the answer.
Okay, so yeah, I'll put it this way, and I'm trying to evaluate. Yeah, if y'all beat Duke and expose them, that's what I'm thinking of. In 2 weeks, I think that would be enough. If you expose Duke and take care of business through on out, you have to win out, obviously. I say that like that's a simple thing. Fortunately, your final 2 games are the juggernaut that is North Alabama and an always frisky game against the Gators because, Florida interstate rivalries craziness. But yeah, I mean, don't rule FSU out, especially when USC's getting punished for bad defense, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
2 weeks in a row. They've skated by a couple of games. I mean,
but I'll tell you what, Oklahoma stealing one from Texas is a big threat.
But before we get out of here, didn't I say that a couple weeks ago saying that could be the weird like team that could vault the bracket if they do their job, they beat Texas a couple weeks. I
don't think anybody argued with you.
And it happened.
And it happened, exactly. Right. No,
I think they'll blow it. I think they'll lose the game at some point next couple of weeks. I'm just saying that, whoa, okay.
You think Oklahoma's going to blow it?
Let's look at the schedule.
I was making sure I heard you correctly. But yeah, I think a closing thing here to do here is to examine the actual threat that is Oklahoma. I will grant that. Because listen, they have a history of letting us down, but apparently they can actually, at least for one big game, play defense. But looking at their schedule, Ernest Christian, I am not scared of anybody on here. Now,
neither am I. UCF?
In 2 weeks, I will be, covering it for the Black and Gold Banneret, writing the game and then appearing on the Night Shift podcast post game. Bing! Yeah, I don't. Kansas might make it interesting
road game
for a half.
Oklahoma State though, road.
Oklahoma State's on the downturn right now. No offense to my good friend Jordan Johnson, former UCF center who I covered, Bing. But yeah, BYU's not really a thing. We've seen TCU not, kind of the old gray mule that ain't what she used to be. But I think the friskiest game left, I could argue, is an angry TCU trying to spoil. That's about it.
Yeah, and then maybe
provided that Dylan Gabriel doesn't get hurt or anything like that.
Yeah, they can run this table actually based on the schedule. Oh my God, yeah, you're right.
Yeah, well, I'll put it this way.
I'm not saying that
the last thing I want to do is see the sock hawker get any success, but that's a whole other question for me.
Right. Well, I will say this college season has been very, very interesting and it's very exciting.
Actually. Oh, what a season!
I've been loving it. I've been loving it. So,
absolutely. Even for all the ridiculous SEC hate, this is a great season to watch.
Yeah. And we'll continue covering on the show. So, Kyle, plug away.
Honor, joy, and privilege, Ernest Christian. Of course, I'm Kyle Nash, the student of the game. You can find me on Twitter at the SOTG. Find me on Instagram as the same, the SOTG. Find me on Facebook as the student of the game. Threads on the SOTG as well. I'm hip. I'm with it. Anyway,
Dr. Evil. That was good.
Is that a problem for you, Ernest Christian? I'm not freaking Frankenstein. Come and give me a hug. Oh, wait, you refuse to meet me in person. Anyways.
Oh my God. We're still doing this shit.
Yes.
Yes, we are. Until we meet.
Check out my writings with the Jaguar Report, especially me talking about this past week's performance by the defense of the Jacksonville Jaguars. And hey, during the week, I wrote a piece that was kind of entertaining about Josh Allen on Josh Allen crime and how quarterback Josh Allen talked about the defensive end Josh Allen going into the game. Very entertaining exchange with that. So make sure you check that out. Well, both available on the Jaguar Report of SI. Of course, my work with the Black and Gold Banneret. Bing! Covering UCF. Check that out as well. My work with the 3-point conversion in 87BN Sports covering the Jacksonville Jaguars. And, of course, the Student of the Game podcast, 8:40 p.m. Eastern, live on the Huddle Up Podcast YouTube channel.
It's you.
Total Media YouTube channel where the struggle is real to be awesome. Same can be said for the Duval Dive, Ernest Christian, 11 a.m. on Fridays. Give you the action with Big Cat Country's Travis Holmes, breaking down the previous Jags game and going into the next one. Should be an interesting one for the second battle against the Colts.
By the way, Huddle Up Podcast tonight, us two, and then Big Jim. No Matt again tonight, unfortunately. So it's another thin schedule.
Well, at least you get the creative stylings of my dunks versus Burns' angry, I don't get to do this very much, like Shaquille O'Neal style slams.
Right. You fuckers. Anyway, we'll see you tonight, buddy. You look tan today, by the way. Did you go to the beach today?
By the way, that would be number 3 with your curses. No, it's just really hot in my mom's house, and apparently she has a really loud phone that's from the 90s or something. So yeah.
I love that phone.
I don't. But
That's dismissed.
So while you're trying to answer this sales call, Hunter Joy of Privilege Earnest Christian class dismissed.